They've covered tens of thousands of miles, carried out hundreds of engagements, and been at the heart of family events. It's been another busy year for the Earl and Countess of Wessex, and as they get ready to do it all again in 2019, Royal Central is looking back at the past 12 months for Sophie and Edward. Here's the Wessex year.January.The Earl of Wessex began his year by launching the Duke of Edinburgh's award Real Tennis Tour 2018 at Cambridge. It was the start of a 12-month program which would see Edward play the sport at every real tennis court in the world to encourage support for the DofE Award Scheme. The Prince also hosted a series of receptions for young people who had achieved the Gold Award in the scheme throughout January. The Countess of Wessex turned 53 in the first month of 2018, and by the time she celebrated, on January 20th, she had already packed in a series of engagements and meetings supporting some of the organizations with which she works, including the Royal School of Ballet. Soon after her big day, she headed to Northern Ireland for a series of engagements in Belfast. As the month came to an end, Edward and Sophie travelled to Sri Lanka to represent the Queen at events marking the 70th anniversary of independence. February.The first part of February was spent in Sri Lanka, where the Earl and Countess of Wessex met the country's president and government ministers during their stay. On February 4, 2018, they attended a parade to mark the 70th anniversary of Sri Lanka's independence. During their 5-day visit, Edward and Sophie also spent time at the British Council in Colombo, toured the Udawalawe National Park and hosted receptions for DofE Award Gold winners. The Earl of Wessex then travelled to India, where his agenda included several events for the DofE Award and the Real Tennis Tour. Edward also hosted a sports and empowerment reception and toured a community centre. The Countess of Wessex returned to the UK, where she visited Westmorland and Cumbria, while on his return, Edward's agenda took him to Bristol and Holyport for engagements. March.The first week of March 2018 saw the Countess of Wessex head to Malta for a 48-hour visit which included events to mark International Women's Day, receptions for students and entrepreneurs and an engagement at the Fort Saint Elmo Museum in Valletta. On her return from Malta, there were visits to Swansea and Farnham for the Countess. The Earl of Wessex travelled to Lisburn in Northern Ireland for the Welcome Home Parade of 2nd Batallion The Rifles, of which he is Royal Colonel. During March, Edward's Real Tennis Tour took him to Manchester and London, while the Prince also carried out a series of meetings and engagements in his role as Chancellor of the University of Bath. And on March 10, 2018, the Earl of Wessex celebrated his 54th birthday.April.Prince Edward headed to Australia at the start of April for a 2-week visit. The Earl of Wessex's time in the country included stays in Melbourne, Tasmania, Brisbane, and Adelaide, and an itinerary which took in universities, business organisations and sporting schemes, as well as continue his Real Tennis Tour. Edward also hosted receptions and meetings for the DofE scheme and attended several days of events at the Commonwealth Games, held on the Gold Coast. April saw the Countess of Wessex visit Herefordshire and Cornwall, as well as the Vote 100 Women in Business Summit in London, while both Edward and Sophie were involved with events for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting which took place in London. May.The Earl of Wessex helped mark the 75th anniversary of the Royal Windsor Horse Show in May and carried out other engagements in Surrey and Suffolk. Edward's Real Tennis Tour took him to Oxfordshire, Suffolk, Surrey, and France, where he also hosted a dinner in his role as chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Duke of Edinburgh Award. His work with the scheme also saw the Prince, alongside his wife, host a garden party at Buckingham Palace in May. Sophie carried out engagements in Sussex and visited the Chelsea Flower Show to lend her support to one of the charities of which she is the patron, the NSPCC. And the Earl and Countess of Wessex, along with their children, attended the wedding of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex at Windsor in May. June. Perhaps the busiest month of the year for the Wessexes, June saw Prince Edward carry out engagements in Birmingham, Dorset, Hertfordshire, and Surrey, and also attended a service marking the 1100th anniversary of the death of Ethelfled, Lady of the Mercians, held in Tamworth in Staffordshire. The Earl of Wessex officially opened the renovated RAF Museum in London, while his real tennis tour took him to Dorset and Oxfordshire. And he paid a 4-day visit to China and Hong Kong in his role with the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. The Countess of Wessex visited the Remus Horse Sanctuary in Essex in June, while a day in Leeds included the official opening of the clinical research facility at the city's Children's Hospital. There were also engagements for Sophie in Aldershot and Hollyborn during the month, while the Countess also attended the race for the Lions final at RAF Wittering. The Earl and Countess of Wessex were both at the Order of the Garter service at Windsor and enjoyed several days at Royal Ascot, while Sophie was present at Trooping the Colour.